The Gene Vault. A Sci-Fi Story. Part 1. The alarms were already screaming when Dr. Zoe Anesi stumbled into the sequencing chamber. One hand pressed against her respirator, the other gripping the doorframe hard enough to blanch her knuckles. The air shimmered, an oily distortion, like heat rising from asphalt, and every instinct in her body told her to run. But the thing on the table was still moving. "Don't go near it!" someone shouted behind her. Too late. Zoe was already inside. The organism, if that word still applied, twitched under the containment lights. Its surface rippled like a sheet of mercury disturbed by breath. Filaments extruded and retracted in frantic pulses, tasting the air, tasting the room, tasting them. The thing had doubled in mass in less than an hour. It shouldn't have been possible. Nothing on Earth grew like that. Nothing on Earth rewrote DNA on contact. Zoe swallowed hard. "Shut the vents. Now." "I already did," yelled Kaito from the control booth. "It's not the vents. It's producing aerosols on its own." Of course it was. The airborne enzymes were its primary vector. They'd learned that too late. The creature convulsed again, and a spray of iridescent mist puffed into the air. The droplets hung there, suspended, as if gravity had become optional. Zoe's visor display flickered with warnings. Unknown compounds, unknown proteins, unknown everything. She took a step back. The mist drifted toward her. 12 hours earlier. The mining site had been quiet that morning, eerily quiet, even for the northern desert. The sun was a white coin in a washed-out sky, and the wind carried the metallic tang of dust and ozone. Zoe had been reviewing the latest core samples when the call came through. "Dr. Anesi? You need to see this." The voice belonged to Foreman Rusk, a man who normally sounded like he gargled gravel for breakfast. Today he sounded unsettled. Zoe grabbed her tablet and headed toward the excavation pit. The site belonged to Helix Ion Industries, a corporation with more money than ethics and more ambition than caution. They'd hired her as a genomic consultant to ensure regulatory compliance. They'd said. What they meant was, "Tell us how far we can push before someone sues us." She reached the pit and froze. The miners had uncovered a structure. Not a fossil. Not a cave. A structure. A smooth, obsidian-black surface curved out of the earth like the hull of a buried ship. Strange geometric patterns shimmered faintly across it, shifting when viewed from different angles. The air around it felt colder, as if the thing were drinking heat. "What is it?" Zoe whispered. Rusk spat into the dust. "You're the scientist. You tell me." She stepped closer, running her gloved fingers along the surface. It was warm, unexpectedly warm, and vibrated faintly, like a living heartbeat. Her tablet chimed. "Organic traces detected," it announced. Rusk frowned. "Organic? It's a rock." "No," Zoe said. "It's not." The vault opens. By noon, Helixion's executives were already on site, flown in by private shuttle. Dr. Kaito Suresh, the company's lead xenobiologist, arrived with them, grinning like a child on a holiday. "Zoe, you're going to love this," he said, practically vibrating. "We ran spectral scans. The structure isn't just organic, it's engineered. And there's an entrance." "An entrance?" she repeated. He pointed. A seam had appeared along the surface, widening slowly, silently, as if responding to their presence. The interior glowed with a soft blue light. Rusk crossed himself. Kaito clapped his hands. "We're calling it a vault. And guess what's inside?" Zoe didn't answer. She already knew. DNA. Ancient DNA. But not from Earth. They descended into the vault wearing full hazmat suits. The air inside was crisp and sterile, with a faint scent of something floral and metallic. The walls were lined with crystalline pods, each containing a suspended lattice of shimmering threads. "Genetic storage," Kaito said reverently. "A library of life." Zoe felt a chill. "Or a prison." He waved her off. "Don't be dramatic." But she wasn't being dramatic. Something about the place felt wrong. Too clean. too deliberate, too sealed. She approached one of the pods. The threads inside pulsed faintly, like neurons firing. "These samples are active," she said. "Exactly," Kaito beamed. "We can sequence them, maybe even revive them." Zoe turned sharply. "Revive? Kaito, we don't know what these organisms are. We don't know their biology, their ecology, their risks. We know they're valuable," said a voice behind them. Heliction's regional director, Lisa Vorn, stepped into the chamber. Her suit was pristine, her posture rigid, her eyes bright with corporate hunger. "Imagine the patents," she said. "Imagine the applications. Medicine, agriculture, biotech, entire new industries. Or entire new disasters," Zoe muttered. Vorn smiled thinly. "That's why we have you, to keep things safe." Zoe didn't respond, because she already knew nothing about this was safe. Resurrection Protocol. Back at the research facility, the sequencing lab buzzed with activity. Machines hummed, screens flickered, and technicians rushed between stations. The alien DNA was unlike anything they'd ever seen: quad-helix structures, self-correcting codons, adaptive base pairs that shifted in response to environmental stimuli. "It's rewriting itself," Zoe said, staring at the data. "Actively. It's not just stable, it's dynamic." Kaito leaned over her shoulder. "Beautiful, isn't it?" "It's dangerous," he shrugged. "Everything new is dangerous." They began the revival process that evening. A single sample, just one, was placed into a nutrient matrix designed to mimic universal biochemical conditions. The chamber sealed. The lights dimmed. The machines whirred. And the sample grew. Fast. Too fast. Within an hour, it had formed a gelatinous mass the size of a fist. Within 2 hours, it had sprouted tendrils. By the 3rd hour, it was responding to stimuli: light, sound, heat. "It's learning," Kaito whispered. Zoe stepped back. "Shut it down." "We can't shut it down now," Vorn said from behind the glass. "This is the discovery of the century." "It's unstable," Zoe insisted. "Look at the metabolic rate. It's off the charts. It's producing compounds we can't identify. Which is why we need to study it." Zoe slammed her fist against the console. "You don't understand. This isn't an organism. It's a system designed to adapt, to spread, to—" The creature convulsed. The chamber lights flickered. A cloud of shimmering mist filled the containment unit. "What is that?" Kaito breathed. Zoe's visor display lit up with warnings. "Enzymes," she said. "Airborne enzymes." Vorn frowned. So, Zoe said. "They're binding to the glass." The mist clung to the chamber walls, and the surface began to ripple, molecular bonds rearranging, dissolving, reforming. "It's rewriting the material," Zoe whispered. "It's rewriting everything." Breach. The containment chamber ruptured at 3:17. The alarms blared. Emergency shutters slammed down. The lab flooded with red light. Zoe was thrown from her cot by the impact. She scrambled to her feet, grabbed her respirator, and sprinted toward the sequencing wing. By the time she arrived, the corridor was filled with shimmering haze. Technicians lay on the floor, twitching, their skin mottled with iridescent patches. Some were still conscious, clawing at their suits as if trying to escape their own bodies. "Zoe!" Kaito's voice crackled through her calm. "Don't come in here." She pushed forward anyway. The door to the sequencing chamber was half-melted, sagging like wax. She forced it open, and saw the creature. It had grown. No longer a fist-sized mass. It now sprawled across the table like a pulsating reef. Tendrils snaked across the floor, branching, splitting, merging. The air shimmered with enzyme mist. Kaito stood in the corner, suit torn, one arm already transformed, fused with something chitinous and translucent. "Zoe!" he gasped. "It's rewriting me." She froze. "Kaito!" He laughed weakly. "It's not painful, just wrong." The creature pulsed, and another wave of mist drifted toward them. Zoe backed away. We need to evacuate. No, Kaito said. We need to contain it. It's too late for containment. He shook his head. Not if we seal the vault. Zoe blinked. The vault? Kaito nodded. It wasn't a library. It was a quarantine. They locked this ecosystem away because it doesn't coexist. It overwrites. Zoe felt her stomach drop. Then we never should have opened it. Kaito smiled sadly. We always open things. Collapse. The facility descended into chaos. The airborne enzymes spread through ventilation shafts, rewriting everything they touched. Plants in the greenhouse mutated into writhing tangles of bioluminescent vines. Lab animals fused into grotesque hybrids. Feathered mammals, scaled birds, creatures with too many eyes and not enough bones. Humans fared worse. Some transformed rapidly, their bodies twisting into unstable forms that collapsed under their own weight. Others changed slowly, painfully, as their DNA rewrote itself in spiraling cascades. Zoe moved through the corridors like a ghost, sealing doors, activating fire breaks, trying to slow the spread. But the organism was adapting faster than she could react. She reached the central control room and initiated the lockdown sequence. Warning, the system intoned. Structural integrity compromised. No kidding. She pulled up the facility map. Red zones spread like a rash across the screen. The organism was everywhere. Her comm crackled. Zoe, you there? It was Kaito. His voice was weaker now. I'm here, she said. I found something in the vault records. A failsafe. What kind of failsafe? A purge. Thermal. Enough to sterilize the entire site. Zoe closed her eyes. That will kill everyone still inside. Yes. And you. Kaito laughed softly. I'm already gone. She swallowed hard. Where's the trigger? Deep in the vault. You'll have to go back. Of course she would. Of course it would end where it began. Return to the vault. The desert night was cold as Zoe staggered across the excavation site, respirator hissing, suit patched with emergency sealant. The sky above was a smear of stars, blurred by drifting enzyme clouds escaping from the facility behind her. The vault loomed ahead, its entrance still open, glowing faintly. She hesitated. The air around the vault felt clean, sterile, as if the structure itself resisted contamination. She stepped inside. The crystalline pods flickered as she passed, their threads pulsing faster now, reacting to the presence of the escaped organism. Warning signals? Or hunger? She reached the central chamber and froze. The organism was here. A massive tendril had slithered into the vault, drawn by the genetic signatures within. Pulsed rhythmically, absorbing, integrating, expanding. The vault walls flickered in distress. Zoe raised her plasma cutter. Not today, she whispered. She sliced through the tendril. It shrieked, an ultrasonic wail that rattled her teeth, and recoiled violently. She ran. The failsafe console was embedded in the far wall, covered in alien glyphs. Her visor translated them clumsily. Quarantine breach initiate purge confirmation required. She slammed her hand onto the panel. The vault rumbled. The lights dimmed. A countdown began. Behind her, the organism surged forward, filling the corridor like a tidal wave of living mercury. Zoe turned to face it. Come on, she whispered. Let's finish this. Part 2. The organism surged toward her like a living tide, its surface rippling with iridescent patterns that shifted too quickly for her eyes to track. Zoe braced herself, plasma cutter raised, though she knew it wouldn't matter. The thing adapted faster than she could think, faster than she could breathe. The vault's countdown echoed through the chamber in a low, resonant hum. Purge sequence initiated. Thermal sterilization in 180 seconds. 3 minutes. The organism reared up, forming a towering column of writhing tendrils. It wasn't attacking. It was studying her. Zoe! Kaito's voice crackled through her comm, faint and distorted. It's learning from you, from all of us. She swallowed hard. Then let's teach it something useful. The creature lunged. Zoe dove aside, rolling across the smooth crystalline floor. A tendril slammed down where she'd been standing, leaving a sizzling smear of enzyme residue that ate into the surface like acid. She scrambled to her feet and sprinted toward the exit corridor. The organism followed, flowing like liquid metal, splitting into branching streams that raced along the walls and ceiling. The vault lights flickered. 150 seconds. Zoe ran harder. The chase. The vault's corridors twisted like a labyrinth, their geometry subtly shifting as if the structure were alive. Zoe's visor struggled to map the space, recalculating constantly as walls reconfigured themselves. The organism was adapting too, its tendrils flattening into sheets that slid across surfaces with terrifying speed. "Zoe," Kaito whispered. "It's trying to cut you off." "I noticed." She skidded around a corner and nearly collided with a crystalline pod. The threads inside pulsed violently, reacting to the organism's presence. Warning, communication. She didn't know. A tendril lashed out. Zoe ducked, the tip grazing her shoulder. Her suit's integrity alarm shrieked. She didn't look back. 120 seconds. The exit was close. She recognized the faint blue glow ahead. But the corridor narrowed suddenly, walls contracting like a throat closing. The organism surged forward, filling the space behind her. "Zoe," Kaito said, voice fading. "The vault is trying to help you." She blinked. "What?" "It's a quarantine system. It wants to contain the breach. It's guiding you." She didn't have time to question it. The walls shifted again, opening a side passage she hadn't seen before. She took it. The organism slammed into the narrowing corridor behind her, shrieking in ultrasonic fury. The heart of the vault. The new passage led to a chamber she hadn't entered before, a circular room with a central pillar of crystalline machinery. Alien glyphs spiraled across its surface, glowing brighter as she approached. Her visor translated. Primary seal override quarantine restoration biological threat level. Critical. The pillar pulsed, projecting a holographic lattice of the organism. Its structure, its vectors, its adaptive pathways. The lattice flickered, showing possible containment strategies. One option glowed brighter than the rest. Reintegration protocol. Zoe frowned. Reintegration? What does that mean? Kaito's voice was barely audible now. It means, the organism belongs here, in the vault. It's part of the system. The purge will destroy everything, including the vault's ability to contain it. So what's the alternative? Lure it back. Let the vault absorb it. Zoe stared at the hologram. And how exactly do I do that? You're already doing it, Kaito whispered. It's following you. She turned. The organism filled the entrance, tendrils writhing, surface shimmering with chaotic patterns. It hesitated, sensing the chamber's energy. The vault pulsed again, brighter this time. The organism responded. It flowed forward, drawn to the pillar like iron to a magnet. Zoe backed away slowly. 90 seconds. The organism wrapped itself around the pillar, tendrils sinking into the crystalline surface. The vault lights flared, and the entire structure vibrated with a deep, resonant hum. The holographic lattice shifted, showing the organism being pulled inward, its mass dissolving into the vault systems. It was working, until it wasn't. The organism convulsed violently, resisting the pull. Tendrils lashed out, striking the walls, the floor, the ceiling. The vault groaned under the strain. "Zoe," Kaito gasped. "It's too big, too adapted. It won't reintegrate fully." "Then what do I do?" A long pause. "You anchor it." She blinked. "What?" "You let it bind to you, temporarily. Your DNA is already partially mapped in its adaptive matrix. If it recognizes you as a host vector, it may follow you into the reintegration cycle." Zoe stared at the writhing mess. "That will kill me." "Yes." She closed her eyes. 60 seconds. The decision. Zoe stepped toward the organism. It sensed her immediately. Tendrils reached out, hesitant, curious. The air shimmered with enzyme mist. Her suit alarms screamed. "Zoe," Kaito whispered. "You don't have to." "Yes," she said softly. "I do." She removed her glove. The cold air stung her skin. She extended her hand. A tendril touched her fingertips. The world exploded. Not with pain, though there was pain, but with information. A flood of sensory data poured into her mind. Chemical gradients, genetic patterns, environmental maps, evolutionary histories. She saw the organism's origin, an alien world teeming with hyperadaptive life. She saw the collapse, ecosystems overwritten, species erased, landscapes consumed by runaway genetic recursion. She saw the vault being built, a last refuge, a last prison, a warning. The organism wrapped around her arm, merging with her skin, rewriting her cells. She felt her DNA unravel and reweave, her body shifting, adapting, becoming something new. She screamed. The vault pulsed. The organism surged toward the pillar, dragging her with it. 30 seconds. Reintegration. Zoe collapsed against the pillar, her body half-merged with the organism. Her vision flickered between human and alien spectrums. She felt the vault systems reaching for her, scanning her, identifying her as a vector. The reintegration protocol activated. A beam of light enveloped her and the organism, pulling them inward. The creature writhed, resisting, but Zoe held on, anchoring it with her own mutating biology. "Kaito," she whispered. "I'm here," he said faintly. "Tell them not to open it again." He laughed weakly. Humans never learn. The vault's energy surged. The organism screamed. Zoe felt herself dissolving, cell by cell, atom by atom, into the crystalline matrix. Her consciousness stretched, fragmented, expanded. She became part of the vault, part of the system, part of the quarantine. The countdown reached 0. The purge activated. A wave of thermal energy swept through the vault, sterilizing everything outside the reintegration chamber. The facility above vaporized. The desert floor turned to glass. Inside the vault, the reintegration completed. Silence. Darkness. Then, a heartbeat. Not human. Not alien. Something in between. Aftermath. Weeks later, a Helix Ion recovery team arrived at the site. The facility was gone, reduced to a crater of fused silica. The vault entrance was sealed, its surface smooth and inert. The team scanned for life. They found none. But deep beneath the surface, the vault pulsed faintly, its systems restored, its quarantine intact. Inside, crystalline threads glowed softly. Some were alien, some were new. A hybrid lattice, stable, balanced, contained. A voice echoed faintly within the vault systems. "Not human, not alien. Zoe, do not open this place." The vault obeyed. It slept and waited. Epilogue. Centuries later, long after Helix Ion collapsed and the desert reclaimed the land, a new civilization discovered the vault. They scanned it. They studied it. They debated its purpose. Some believed it was a tomb. Others believed it was a treasure. A few believed it was a warning. They argued for years, and eventually, they opened it. This is the end of the sci-fi story, The Gene Vault. Leave a like if you enjoyed the story, and subscribe for more sci-fi stories. Thanks for listening.